Marcus Chun sat at the Riverside Cafe, checking his watch for the third time in 5 minutes. The autumn sunlight cast golden reflections across the water, and colorful buildings lined the opposite bank, like a painting from his childhood memories. He had built an empire in commercial real estate, turned 48 last month, and here he was on a blind date arranged by his sister. He didn't do this anymore. Dating felt like a young person's game, and after his divorce 7 years ago, he convinced himself that work was enough. But Sarah had insisted, practically begging him to meet her friend's daughter. Just coffee, Marcus. 1 hour. She's wonderful, I promise. He sighed, straightening his crisp white shirt. The cafe was nearly empty, which he appreciated. At least if this went poorly, there wouldn't be an audience. That's when he saw her. A woman was hurrying down the wooden walkway toward the cafe, and even from a distance, something was clearly wrong. As she got closer, Marcus felt his stomach drop. Her beige dress was splattered with dark mud, streaking across the fabric like abstract art gone wrong. Her cardigan had similar stains, and there was dirt smudged on her legs. She was carrying her shoes in one hand, walking barefoot on the deck. This had to be her. This had to be Elena. Marcus stood up instinctively, his businessman's instinct already calculating the exit strategy. He could pretend he hadn't seen her, slip away before she reached the table. His sister would understand. Anyone would understand. But then Elena looked up and their eyes met. For a moment, she froze. Her face flushed deep red, and Marcus saw something flicker across her expression that stopped him cold. It wasn't embarrassment about the date. It wasn't vanity wounded by appearing disheveled. It was something deeper, something that looked like resignation, like she had been through this before and knew exactly how it would end. She started to turn away. Elena? Marcus heard himself call out. She stopped, her shoulders tensing. Slowly, she turned back to face him, and he could see her gathering courage like armor. You must be Marcus, she said quietly, walking toward him. I'm so sorry. I can explain, but I'll understand if you want to leave. I would if I were you. Marcus found himself sitting back down. Please, he said, gesturing to the chair across from him. Sit. Elena hesitated, then carefully lowered herself into the chair, placing her muddy shoes on the deck beside her. Up close, he could see she was probably in her early 30s, with warm eyes that held both kindness and sadness. Her blonde hair was still neatly pulled back, somehow having survived whatever disaster had befallen her. I was walking through park, she began, her voice soft but steady. There was a little boy, maybe 6 years old, chasing his puppy. The dog had gotten loose and was running toward the river. The boy was crying, terrified his puppy would drown. She looked down at her ruined dress. The puppy ran down the muddy embankment. I didn't think. I just went after it. By the time I caught the dog and got back up, I looked like this. I didn't have time to go home and change. I was already late. Marcus listened, watching her face as she spoke. She wasn't making excuses. She was simply telling him what happened. The boy got his puppy back, he asked. Elena's face brightened slightly. Yes. His mother was so grateful. The little boy hugged me, which is how I got mud on my cardigan, too. She smiled sadly. I probably should have just canceled. Sent you a message. But I thought that would be rude. And I didn't want you waiting, wondering if you'd been stood up. Something shifted in Marcus's chest. When was the last time someone had put his feelings above their own comfort? His ex-wife had been many things, but considerate wasn't one of them. The women he'd dated since were either intimidated by his success or too interested in it. So you came anyway, he said slowly, covered in mud, knowing exactly how it looked. Knowing exactly how it looked, she repeated quietly. Marcus leaned back in his chair, studying her, really looking at her for the first time. Past the mud and the embarrassment, he saw someone who had made a choice. A small boy's tears had mattered more than a first impression. A puppy's safety had outweighed her own dignity. Tell me about yourself, Marcus said, signaling the waiter for 2 coffees. Elena blinked. You're staying? I'm staying. Unless you'd rather leave? No, she said quickly, then laughed nervously. No, I definitely don't want to leave, though I'm getting mud on their nice chair. I own the building. Marcus said with a slight smile. I think they'll forgive us. The tension in Elena's shoulders eased slightly. Your sister said you were successful. She didn't mention you own half the city. Just the interesting parts, Marcus replied. Now, tell me about you. What do you do when you're not rescuing puppies? Elena's laugh was genuine this time, warm and unguarded. I'm a children's librarian. Nothing glamorous. I help kids find books they'll love, organize story time, teach summer reading programs. That sounds important, Marcus said, and meant it. It doesn't pay well, Elena said honestly. I drive a 12-year-old car and live in a small apartment. I'm not exactly in your world. There was again that resignation, like she'd already decided how this would end. My world, Marcus said slowly, has a lot of expensive things in it. Big houses, fast cars, important meetings. He paused, holding her gaze. But I can't remember the last time I did something just because it was right, just because someone needed help. Elena's eyes widened slightly. I've built a career on calculated risks, Marcus continued. Every decision analyzed, every move strategic. But you ran down a muddy hill for a crying child you'd never met. You showed up to this date, knowing I'd probably judge you for it. That takes a different kind of courage than anything I do. I was terrified, Elena admitted. I almost didn't come. I almost left, Marcus confessed. I saw you walking up, and I thought about all the reasons this wouldn't work. The mud was just the most obvious one. What changed your mind? Marcus thought about it, trying to find words for something he'd felt rather than understood. Your eyes, he said finally. When you saw me, you looked like you'd been through this before, like you were tired of people walking away. Elena's breath caught. My ex-fiancé left me 3 years ago. He said I was too soft, too naive, that I cared more about other people than building a real life. Her voice wavered slightly. Maybe he was right. He was an idiot, Marcus said flatly. Elena smiled through sudden tears. You don't know me. I know you saved a puppy and showed up covered in mud because you didn't want a stranger to feel stood up. That tells me more than most people reveal in months. They talked for 3 hours. The coffee went cold. The sun began to set, and the cafe staff worked around them quietly. Marcus learned about Elena's love of old books, her dream of opening a mobile library for rural communities, her Sunday volunteer work at the animal shelter. Elena learned about Marcus's late mother who had cleaned houses to put him through school, his sister's battle with cancer 5 years ago. His fear that success had made him forget how to be human. When they finally stood to leave, Marcus looked at Elena's ruined dress one more time. Would you let me buy you a new dress? He asked. Elena shook her head. I don't need that. What if I said I wanted to? Not because you need it, but because I like to give you something. Elena considered this carefully. Only if you let me recommend some books for you. Marcus smiled. Deal. As they walked along the riverside, Elena barefoot and Marcus in his polished shoes. He reached for her hand. She let him take it, muddy fingers intertwining with clean ones. I'm glad you didn't leave, Elena said softly. I'm glad you showed up, Marcus replied. Sometimes the best things in life arrive covered in mud, carrying their shoes, and brave enough to show up anyway. And sometimes, if we're lucky, we're wise enough not to walk away. Did you enjoy this story? If it touched your heart, please share, and subscribe for more heartwarming tales. Leave a comment below telling us about a time when someone's kindness changed your perspective. Your stories inspire us to keep creating content that matters.